Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, that's me. Hey, everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 520 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And dear people, this week we have on the show a very special guest. I've wanted to have this guest on for many years, ever since the very beginning. Today we welcome Toody Cole, who you likely know from Dead Moon, Tombstone Records, even Whiz Eagle Records. Today, Toody and I have a fascinating conversation. She shares a ton of stories of the Dead Moon and Fred Cole records, including Zipper, the In the Graveyard LP. We talk about records from the Weeds, the Rats. We discuss the band's extensive history making mono records and how Dead Moon really achieved legendary status in the DIY and grunge communities. They use a 1954 cutting lathe that's still in her house. We talk about the band refusing major labels, the creation of the iconic skull logo, and a ton more. Just a quick note, fans of Dead Moon and Toody will know she's got an amazing laugh. And here's an example of that right now. Oh, it's fantastic. Now, during our interview, her microphone would distort when she did that amazing laugh, so I had to manage the levels on that a bit. But hey, Dead Moon is about mood, not the polish. It's spirit, not perfection. I know many audiophiles listening can be sensitive to distortion, so just calling this out early before the emails and messages start. Toody is an absolute legend. So cool, so determined, so independent and authentic, and she continues to tour and play those songs around the world, including Australia. Now, there's a handful of shows at the end of November, primarily in Victoria, Balnaring, Castlemaine, Melbourne at the Tote Hotel. Get those tickets as soon as you can, ontheloose.au or facebook.com/ontheloose.au. It's going to be very special at those shows. They will sell out, so try to get your ticket as soon as possible. And of course, see if you can grab one of those latest Dead Moon 4 LP anthology box sets. They're selling out all over the place. Find one if you can. Also, plenty of Dead Moon apparel and music and knickknacks at deadmoonusa.com. Alrighty, enough of the chit-chat. Let's talk to Toody Cole about the legacy of Dead Moon and more. Great to see you, Toody. Are your bags packed for Australia yet?
Almost. Believe it or not, I just had to rush out to the airport, pick up my guitar because it didn't make the last flight from Spain. We just got back from Spain last night.
Gosh. That's the rock and roll lifestyle there.
You go. Getting back in the flow.
Jeez. All right. So I want to make sure everyone knows Toody Cole and her band coming to Australia, November 2025. A bunch of dates in Melbourne, Victoria area. Personally, I'm not in that area. I'm gonna have to get on a plane to see you. I don't mind, but it's curious. You're coming over to only play one city.
Well, that's kind of always been our hub. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason is I'm kind of jumping on a few dates. The two guys that I play with, they're also in another band, Jenny Don't and the Spurs. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be doing a more extended tour over there, and I'm just joining them for these 4 shows to where we'll play on the same bill. So it's just kind of the way that it worked out, and I'm really looking forward to coming back to Australia. I have so many friends in the Melbourne area that I keep in touch with and have kept in touch with over the last, 30 years, 40 years. I'm losing count.
Well, we need you to get some friends in the Sydney area too, Toody.
Well, we played there quite a bit, but we kind of spent way more time in the Melbourne area. I still remember the one gig that we played. I don't remember which tour it was on, but we played a bunch of stuff around the Sydney area. And then we went up north, and I think it's the Blue Mountains, to this big commune that was way up in the mountains. It was just gorgeous, and played there over New Year's Eve. Got to see, kangaroos and all that for the first time out grazing in the backfield. And that was really cool. So, if I come back, I'll catch you guys.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad your passport is well warmed, and hopefully we'll see you back here again. But I will be getting on a plane because I definitely don't want to miss these shows. I'll put links in this episode page. So we got a lot to talk about, and here on the show, we celebrate vinyl records. We celebrate a lot of the rarities and the DIY culture. Which, oh my God, I mean, you were so. You wouldn't? Okay.
No, actually, I do. Yeah.
Of course you do. So I'd love to ask you some questions about some of the productions that you guys did, making your own records. You and Fred, you guys were record nerds from the very beginning, I'd imagine.
Well, pretty much. And, we were part of that same group of people who, when CDs came out and that's all anybody wanted, were like, oh, really? But at least they're, easier to mail and carry on a plane and whatever. But we always had vinyl through the whole 9 yards. So,
and even producing your own records, like as I understand, you still have the lathe, the mastering, the lacquer.
Yep.
What do you call it? It's a lacquer lathe.
Oh, it cuts the masters. It's an old 1954 cutting lathe. And just cuts mono. That's all there was back then. So that's why all the early records are all mono, all the ones that we did ourselves. And yeah, it's still there, still up in the recording room. I don't know how to use it, so it's going to be part of the Fred Cole Museum up there. But yeah, it's still there, and we used it on all the records right up to the end. He even cut the Pierce Jarrow's records on there as well.
That's so unique to have some. Like I understand a lot of bands record themselves, they build their own studios, but very few get so independent on the lacquer stage. Can you talk?
That's kind of a pretty cool thing. I mean, he loved tinkering with stuff. He kind of actually loved the fact that this machine was in pieces and in bags and whatever else. And he had to figure out, they had a Xerox copy of the original manual for it. So he read that and messed around with it for, probably a couple of months before he got any sound out of it. Just putting it all back together properly and making, it has a big amplifier with these huge tubes that look like mason jars on it. It's very Frankenstein. When we first lit it up, all that lights in the house would dim. I shit you not.
I believe it.
It's really a fun thing. He loves tools. He loves building stuff. So, at that point, that's one of the reasons that, from that time on, once he got it actually working and we cut our first 45 on it, then, that was it. He was gone.
What was the first 45 you guys cut on it? Was that the Parchment Farm?
It was on the
Hey Joe.
Yeah, Hey Joe. Thank you.
Okay. My pleasure. So
everybody remembers better than I do what's on what record.
Well, especially record nerds, because Dead Moon, as you know, is quite collectible, especially those original records. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys created a couple singles. So the Parchment Farm single, that was kind of the monkey shot into space before you guys tried a full album. Is that
Pretty much. He cut an acetate and took it down to our club that we started out in and played, when we were in town, Satyricon, and put it on their jukebox, and which I now have. The club closed down and it filtered down to where I was given the jukebox.
Oh, not the record, the jukebox. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we just played it there for a bunch of times. But anyway, the lathe actually cuts the master lacquer, and then you have to send that down. We sent it down to El Segundo, to Bill Smith Records. And then they make you send it to some place where they make the master, the mothers, and then they press it, in a regular pressing plant. So it's not just it's just the first stage of getting it once the recording's done,
Yeah, but so few artists do that themselves. I wonder, was that a reaction to maybe there was a bad experience with previous albums and he decided,
the first Rats albums that we did, when they came back, everybody tried to make them more commercial, I guess. put all this compression and stuff on it. Anyway, not the super raw in your face sound that Fred wanted. So all those trying to think, yeah, all three of the Rats albums were done by somebody else. He didn't actually start using the lathe until Dead Man. So that was a big part of it. Also, you got to remember that Fred and I were in business through all of this. We owned guitar shops and whatever. So we were used to making those business connections to find out who the first source was, and job out everything ourselves. That saves you a ton of money and it gives you the control that you're looking for. So that was kind of part of the reason I think that we ended up as DIY. That's a lot of bands aren't really. It was just because we had that background. We both love having control of stuff, and we're both cheapskates from hell. So whatever saves you, a couple of bucks, hey, we're there.
Sure. Did you guys ever explore trying to buy a record press?
Oh yeah, he did, but they're huge. Have you ever seen an actual record press?
Yeah.
So luckily now, all the reissues that are coming out for Dead Moon Records on Mississippi Records here in Portland, there's actually a pressing plant here called Cascade. They bought out some pressing plant from Canada, I think, and moved everything down here. So we actually have a local pressing plant now.
So, by the way, I hear Cascade is starting to shut their doors.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, I just got the note about a week or two ago.
I'll look into that because that'll, at this point it's been great. I mean, they've had a huge backlog, but it's just really hard to make it with that kind of a business. So
yeah. They said they're going to finish up the jobs that they have.
Yeah, at this point, most everybody I talk to, even locally here, because Cascade takes so long to get their press out, are sending everything to Czech Republic. So most things coming from there. I think you guys kind of do the same.
Look, a lot of people have to, and no one's making a fortune in the music. Well, no artists are making a fortune. Everyone's trying to save a little bit.
The guys that sell those collectible records, they're making the bucks. Okay, that's what.
There's a few people who actually have done well at that, but most of us are just still listeners and collectors because we love it.
Most of you are the ones putting the cash out.
Well, and we don't want to let it go.
Hell no! Hey, thank God for you guys. That's great.
So going back to something like even like the Weeds, that single, "It's Your Time." What do you know about that? I don't think you and Fred were.
Oh yeah, well yeah, but you forget we shared every story of our lifetime within the first year that we were together, and then some. So so with that one, not the one on TV, I assume you're talking about.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so at that particular point in Vegas, they were managed by Mike Till, whose dad owned a newspaper. He had buku bucks, and. So they were kind of the house band at the Teen Beat Club, which was, all those clubs were around. They were all ages, and there was so many of us war babies that it was insane. So, there were just kids everywhere, and it just became a really big thing because all the Hullabaloo, Shindig, all those TV shows, the U.S. versions, I think there was versions in every country in the world, were really popular. So every city of any good size would have a club kind of set up like that. Mm-hmm. So that was their kind of home base. And, the guy who put out the record was one of the radio disc jocks in whatever the hot radio station was in Vegas back then. Mm-hmm. So that's how that happened. And they just kind of put it out as a demo. And that was really the only record they had until they ended up moving down to LA after coming to Portland. And lined up the Lollipop Shop record. But those were songs on that, pretty much all of them that they were playing live at the time everywhere.
Yeah. And do you have any idea, because at Teen Beat Club Records, they only had a couple of releases. Any idea how many of those?
Oh, of the original?
Yeah.
I would guess maybe 500 at most, probably more like 300. That was 300 was the minimum that you could press. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then there was a price cut at $5 and a better price cut at $1,000. But a lot of, I wouldn't imagine any more than 500, but that I honestly don't know as a figure.
Okay. All right. And
I have one.
You do?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, Fred never had a copy. He gave it to one of his younger sisters. Mm-hmm. And at some point they gave it back to him. So that's the only reason we have one.
And That's the one, if I'm not wrong, that's the one that was the source for other reissues of that record. Is that right?
Yeah. There was one that we basically that Fred cut the master for, that was put out later on down the road. That was some kid in Vegas, I forget, owned a record shop, I think, and he his Tombstone Records was pretty much a vanity press. So we just kind of wanted it for all of our own stuff. But yeah, he paid to have that one done, which was cool because a lot of people just wanted to hear it, period.
Yeah. Do you guys have copies of everything that was done, even the Zipper album?
I used to. Oh, I've got pretty much all of it. I think I've got most of the originals. At one point, somebody would order stuff and I probably sold a bunch of them I shouldn't have. But I think I still have one. At this point, I listen to all the reissues myself. And we have a huge house. We've lived here since 1983. Fred and I are both pack rats, and it's filled to the gills. So when I need to find something, it takes me quite the while to, sort it on out. I'm slowly getting organized a little bit more since we're off the road and since Fred passed. It's been almost 8 years now. So it's getting there, but I've got a long way to go. To where I can immediately go, oh, here it is.
At the time, in the later years of Fred's life, did he know about the influence that Dead Moon and his music had had on so many people?
I kind of embarrassed him. He, didn't want to be thought of anything all that special. And you'll hear different lyric lines kind of crop up like that off and on. But he knew. At some point, especially when Greg Sage was still here in town, and Dead Moon started to take off, it was just like, and once the Seattle scene started to really happen, because most of all the grunge guys were really young and would come see, our shows and whatever every time we played Seattle way back in the late 80s, especially before they became a big thing. So they were both credited with being, the godfathers of grunge and blah, 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 and all that. And you can hear the influence in a lot of the music that came out of the grunge, Seattle especially.
Yeah, totally. So he recognized that. He knew it, and you said it kind of embarrassed. He didn't feel comfortable with it.
No, he wasn't. I don't know, as flamboyant as he was on stage, especially when it was the lead singer. Oh my God, it was just kind of he's very private too. But when we were on tour, I had a great time, loving talking to people and all the rest of it, and the first tours that we did in New Zealand and then Australia as well. When you go to a place and it's new for the first time, it's great. You really get out there and see a lot and do a lot, meet a lot of people and all the rest of it. It's a blast. And then when you come back, it's kind of like going home again, which is great.
Yeah. Now I heard a story that in the Nirvana tour of 1992 of Australia, which you could actually, that's an original poster right there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. You guys were discussed about being a part of that tour.
No, we weren't. We weren't.
Okay.
Everybody gets that particular story wrong.
Okay.
Because, we spoke to all those guys at different points, which was really cool. The deal is that one of his hardcore rules is that you don't cancel one gig if a better gig comes along. If you've given your word and your commitment to this, you don't go, oops, sorry.
Yeah. So
we had already committed to that New Zealand tour in 92. And I have never regretted it. It's a drag that it never linked up again to where we were on the same bill with Nirvana, which was really a drag. But we played 19 shows in New Zealand that tour. If you've ever been in New Zealand, that's every dinky little.
That's every town.
Every town. And so it was amazing to be there. The landscape is just so surreal, and I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I'm used to trees. But when you see firs and huge ferns and everything looks prehistoric and, bam, right down to the ocean. Everything's so drastic there. Mm-hmm. And it was just the most outrageous fun tour I've ever been on. At that particular point, that part of the world was still the wild, wild west. Oh my God. It was so cool. It was like, mm-hmm. Balls to the walls. Here we go. That was the most fun tour I think I've ever been on. So, but that was the reason that we didn't do the tour. It was just that it was a clash in booking, unfortunately.
Yeah, understand. Now, you guys never really videoed your shows until a bit later. Do you have a lot of video, or do you have much?
Well, it's
video
all
from them?
stuff that somebody else did.
Yeah.
When we first went to Europe, Hans Costello from Music Maniac Records, who did a lot of the presses of the European versions he would come along on tour with us and tape a lot of stuff. There's probably more audio because a lot of stuff was just recorded off the soundboard.
Mhm.
And then once the technology came up to where people were able to, get camcorders or whatever else, there was a lot of bootleg stuff that was recorded, but it's all done by somebody else. We never until the documentary that Jake Summers and Kate Fix did. And they followed us around part of a European tour and then part of an American tour as well, and did all that footage.
And there's another documentary coming out, like 20 years in the
yeah.
crypt.
Well, it's extra footage that Jason had taken, and a lot of it's shot. It's really cool because a lot of it's shot from backstage, so you're getting, the band's view of what's going on, which I loved seeing. It was like, God, it just brought you back right there. It's totally different than seeing, the band's like, yeah, I know what we look like. We always look like that. But to see, what's going on out there, it's, it was really cool.
What surprised me most is the sound also was quite good.
Sure. Well, again, technology, you're able to, dial that in so much better now just because that, it's the way things are. So it's one of the cool things about tech.
Mm-hmm. So what do you remember about Zipper, specifically the creation
everything? They lived in our house. They practiced in the basement. I mean, come on, you forget. I mean, this is like, I lived in band houses until through Zipper. We didn't move out here to our property until 78. And at that point, we lived in a tent for 6 months, and then built, what basically is a big clubhouse. And then we lived in that until finally I go, Fred, I want a real house. So we built this one. You would have been happy as a clown to live back there, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, the lathe would have gotten a little bit wet.
That's true. There wouldn't have been any room for the lathe,
So the band Zipper creating the album, where was that recorded? How quick was it? And do you recall how many?
Well, they recorded it pretty quick because they had been playing those songs live for a while. And once they had enough written and enough down to get an album out. Yep. I don't know if it says on the record. I'm trying to remember. It wasn't Ace Tunnel. It was recorded at one of the studios here in town.
Recorded by Bob Ross at Recording Associates.
Oh, Recording Associates. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah, and we also recorded the Red album there, the Red Rats album, In a Desperate.
Was the band happy with the album as a result, or
pretty much. I mean, it was 70s butt rock, so that was the sound, blah blah blah, and it was that was the last thing that Fred was actually doing as a lead singer, because he was playing an instrument or anything in that band. But I mean, to me, it's great that it's that dateable as far as when it came out. I mean, it kills me. Half of the songs and the song lyrics you couldn't even hardly get away with. They're not PC. So,
yeah.
But I love it that in the documentary that Andrew's kidding him about, ow, ow, ow.
That was the time.
It was,
Yeah.
So it's very cool. Yeah.
And there's been a recent reissue on Permanent Records. And
they're down in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put a link for people who want to.
And I do actually have those still available on my website, but it costs a mild fortune to ship them to Australia. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, can you put them in your bag? That'd be great.
Why, don't you have one?
Oh, I've got my copy. I've got my copy.
Yeah.
So do you still have the tapes and things from Zipper?
We've got one of them. I don't know whatever happened to the other one. And we got that back from somebody who found it in a recording studio basement or something stupid. And it's on the really wide tape.
Yep.
So it's really hard to find something to play that you can even anybody machine that'll play that stuff.
It's like a 2-inch, like a multi-track kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big,
yeah,
the ones that are like this deep.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of those have been transferred at some point. We had, I think some of the Rat stuff had to be transferred like that too. There's a guy here in town, Mike Lastra, who, got somebody to bake the tape and, and bring it down to where he could, put it through ProLogic or whatever.
Oh, good.
Computer program thing, to get all the changes in there that you want.
Okay, so you've backed up all the tapes. Is there anything that you're missing? Any session that just is lost and you'd love to find?
Where the lathe is, there's shelves of nothing but tape, stuff that's recorded on tape. So I probably have most everything. Yeah, don't have nothing from the Lollipop Shop, of course. They all ended up down at uni, and God knows what happened to them after that. So, but yeah, anything that we did ourselves, we got all that on tape.
Do you know what happened to the rights of the Lollipop Shop? Is that something?
Yeah. Finally, Ed Bowen, who was a guitar player, did a bunch of research. We found out later that their manager, Lord Tim Hudson, had that's where this Freddie Coletti comes up. Had said that Fred Cole was a stage name and his real name was Freddie Coletti and whatever. Anyway, he basically stole the publishing, and so it just ended up to where Lord Tim collected whatever royalties were happening forever and ever. Amen. So, anyway, Ed Bowen finally got everybody together and got a hold of Lord Tim, who was still living at the time, and kind of got everything squared away to where we're at least getting a teeny royalty off of the record. But at this point, most of it's all is gone. I still have the contract that Fred signed where he sold his publishing for $1. And they told him that he had to, or the record wouldn't come out. It was 19, so, hey.
Exactly. What
it was the only thing that mattered to him was getting that record out.
And as I understand, the band was under the impression they were still called the Weeds at that time, and the album came out.
Well, again, their manager came up with, I'm going to get you on Uni Records, and they had Peanut Butter Conspiracy, and who was the other bubblegum band? Anyway, they were. So he thought, let's push them in that direction and to close the deal. So he came up with the name, the Lollipop Shop. Fred hated it. Just hated it. That and the pink sweater they made him wear on the cover, or on all the photos, all the promo photos. It's just like, embarrassed the hell out of him. But he got outvoted. All the other guys in the band voted to go with this new manager and leave the one that they came from Portland with behind. So.
I guess when you're 19 years old, those sort of experiences are pretty pivotal to help grow your middle finger for use later in life.
You better, yeah. Well, or learn some business sense ASAP.
Yeah.
I'm happy as hell, but at this point, all the younger bands that are coming up that are going to hit, any level of success are way more street savvy than that now. So. Mm-hmm. And don't get taken advantage of, like like the old blues artists and all the bands in the 60s as well, the early 60s anyway.
But it's also, this is an environment where it's a bit easier to be DIY. The resources that a lot of artists have these days. When you guys were doing this, 70s and 80s, there were only a handful of labels that were successful at it. Did you communicate much with labels like SST or Discord, some of the other DIY labels at the time?
More Rough Trade, and we were never really approached by any of those labels, but a lot of the bands that we played with on a routine basis were like on Alternative Tentacles, or a lot of the West Coast indie labels that later got absorbed. And then we worked with Sub Pop on different part of the Singles of the Month Club, and then when they put out the Echoes of the Past CD set. So.
Mm-hmm. Was there a point in time, maybe around kind of the grunge explosion, when major labels were coming to Dead Moon, coming to you and Fred and saying like, "Hey, let's do something on our label"?
We got one. I'm trying to remember who it was now because I don't want to say the wrong one. We got one approach, but he I mean, after his experience with the Lollipop Shop, he didn't even want to talk about major labels again, just because, man, then you're in a position to where they got to recoup all their expenses, okay? And they'll spend money on whatever the hell they want to spend. And then they usually have a huge promotional budget that most people figure, oh, well, that's on top of whatever. No, the band pays for that, okay?
Yeah.
The band pays for everything. You didn't want somebody didn't want to be under anybody's thumb like that.
Yeah.
So it was never even a consideration. And luckily for us, at that particular point in the 90s, when live music bands were really at their peak, it didn't really matter all that much, and especially to European, when we were touring Europe a lot, and that was our, not our only fan base, but our biggest fan base.
Mm-hmm. At one point, you went from Whiz Eagle Records to Tombstone Records.
Yeah, you want to know why?
Tell me.
Our first music store in downtown Portland was called Captain Whiz Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we were when the Zipper album came out, so it was on Whiz Eagle Records.
Who was Whiz Eagle? Like, where was?
This is kind of a long story, but it's cute. Okay, so get the right year. In 1970, after we came back from LA, and after the Weeds Lollipop Shop had basically dispersed, we decided that we wanted to go up and homestead in the Yukon territories. You were still able to do that. So we had two little kids then. So we drove up, went up and got all the way to Whitehorse, broke down outside of there, got picked up by a couple who brought us into town and told us that, that we could go, because we were actually headed to Alaska. Fred's grandmother lived there. So I said, hey, yeah, you can go down, you can, camp on, get some land, and as that they'll eventually give to you after X amount of years, blah, 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 and homestead. So we did that. We signed up for it and all the rest of it, and got some land about 25 miles outside of town. And Captain Whiz-Eagle comes from a story Fred wrote for the kids called Captain Whiz-Eagle and the Snake Troopers. Which I don't know if I still have, but anyway, that's where it came from. It just out of his brain, that was it. And then for Tombstone Records, we split up our partnership. My younger brother was partners in Whiz-Eagles downtown. And at that point, we wanted to be closer to where we lived, tired of the commute. Downtown was getting a bit squirrely. So we moved out here to Clackamas and started Tombstone Music in the beginning of 1986. So hence Tombstone Records. Just named after the music store, Made it easier to get your mail, I guess. I don't know. And,
so it seems like it was kind of there was this environment where there was a lot of different bands. Whiz Eagle, you had the Desperate Edge, you had a lot of different, or the Rats, a few other artists, King Bee, and then Tombstone comes together at the same time that Dead Moon debuts. It seems to be very fortuitous, those two.
Well, it kind of wasn't, but just, I think it was more coincidental, but yeah, but pretty much. I mean, we, basically started, Dead Moon right after we were doing the Range Rat stuff, doing stuff. And that was when we were already at Tombstone.
It's like the slate was wiped clean to...
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And the lathe, let's talk about that a little bit more. Now, did yourself and Fred really have a focus on mono because you loved mono, or because the lathe...
Oh, just because the lathe is mono. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I mean, and again, it was, what we grew up as kids when we started listening to bands, and the first Beatles stuff came out, and Stones, and, all the rest of it, Dylan, all the bands that I really listened to at the time, those were all mono records. So it's, it was nostalgic as well.
Oh, I love I'll never badmouth mono. It's just it's just curious to me because you're one of the mono standouts.
There weren't any left at that point. Everybody switched over in the mainstream over to stereo. So I was like, okay, let's be different.
Now, talk to me a little bit about that Moon Skull logo. That's been with the band since day one. Where did that come from?
Okay, again, everything's internal. Mm-hmm. So after we opened Tombstone Music, we hired Louis Samora, who was our drummer on the Red Rats album. And then shortly after that, this kid came into the store, and Kelly Manahan, and he had drawn something for Fred, like a skeleton with a Western kind of theme and blah, 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 and brought it in and given it to him. And he bought his first guitar or something there. So anyway, we hired him. And then at some point down the line, when we ended up getting Dead Moon happening, he was always drawing stuff, cartoons and, all kinds of stuff like that. Really good artist. So Fred asked him, okay, so we need to come up with a logo, and here's what I have in mind. Okay. And he described it for him and whatever. And Kelly's kind of a big kid, So anyway, he draws everything nice and round and, clownish kind of looking. And so I've actually got the original, I think it's probably in the book of the, what happened as how it came down to whatever. So he'd draw whatever, bring it in the next day, and Fred go, no. Give it gnarlier. And this went on for about 2 weeks or about, I don't know, through at least a dozen different versions until he finally goes, man, he goes, I don't know if you're going to like this. I mean, you said really gnarly, so this was as gnarly as I could think to get it. Fred goes, oh my God, that's it. That's the one. And then he was the one that came up with the, using spray paint to have the drippy kind of look to the lettering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because neither one of us can draw, that's for sure. Stick people.
Hey, you focus your talents elsewhere. That's okay.
Yeah.
But that logo's kind of been there since day one. I mean, people have tattoos of it. It's on every release.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, was it inseparable from the band? Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that there's not that many band logos that are instantly identifiable. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely one of them.
Zero text too. Yeah. And of course the cover of the Graveyard album, the drippy, that was hand done by Fred, you said?
Yeah. Well, he pretty much hand did most of the early covers himself. Always wanted to have a picture, most of the time have a picture. And like on the Graveyard album, that's why you see the photo that we had to use. We took it at a graveyard, and Fred wanted to have the full moon there. It's this old graveyard up on a hill in Portland. And the moon was too high, so that's why he cut the photo and brought the moon down so you could see.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? You can see the lines. Yeah. So, or he would handwrite a lot of stuff on a lot of them. That's all his handwriting, like with where the numbers are on the corner on the backside. And, so he pretty much, a lot of it was just from the punk rock days of all cut and paste stuff,
Yeah.
So a lot of it was done like that.
It looks cropped almost like a cathedral or like an entranceway, that picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why.
Now, you still have all that original artwork, all the...
Most of it, I actually sold the one for the DOA 45 to a guy in New York who's been a friend and a fan forever and ever. But everything else, you used to have them done on huge film. I don't know if you're aware of that. So a lot of them
I think they call it.
Yeah. A lot of them are in huge boxes, but they're stored in the closet and up in the recording room with the lathe. All that stuff's kind of in the same room.
Wow. Okay.
I say we save everything. Okay. I've slowly been going through since COVID, all the posters that we collected, and selling a lot that I had duplicates of, and getting my favorite ones framed up and put in the house and all the rest of it. So still sort through that, but.
Is your thought that there would be some sort of Dead Moon or museum at some point with all this material?
Our friend Jazzy's got a smallish one with part of our back line in Holland, in Nijmegen.
Okay.
So, yeah, in Holland. So, but I don't know. I mean, to me, my house is, if you ever come to my house, okay, you'll see the museum's here. Everywhere. I kid you not.
Don't be surprised if I darken your door one day. I'd love to see it.
Even behind me, there's a ledge that Fred built that's got a bunch of our cowboy boots that we wore out from playing in bands.
With so many releases, is there one that's particularly poignant for you?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I mean, did you ever hear that Portland created the Dead Moon Night
I've heard that,
thing
but I'm
on
not.
October 5th, okay, which was just recently. So everybody gets together and does something special. And this year we had a bunch of different bands play covers of Dead Moon, or just covers of songs that Fred wrote. And it was great that somebody actually played The Deadline, which is the song that Fred wrote about touring. It's funnier than hell because I lived through it. But, it was so cool to hear it again. But there's just different songs that I'll pick depending on what mood I'm in, which is so amazing about the breadth of Fred's writing, to where he covers so many different subjects, to where, if you're sad this, if you're angry that, if you're, whatever mood that you're in. So it kind of runs the gambit. At this point, I kind of pick and choose depending on what's going on. I love Last Train. I listen to that a lot. A lot of the more moody stuff. My all-time favorite that we never played live is My Escape. So personally, I like kind of the darker, moodier stuff. I love the fast stuff, but I've heard it so many times playing it live on stage. All the still doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that collect records kind of find, the hidden gems, the album cuts that, that's the only way they ever hear that song.
And luckily, the material's still available. There was the book. There's now recently a 4 LP box set, which I just found out was sold out now.
Yeah, I've sold out. I know Music Millennium has 5 copies of it in Portland. So, but yeah, it's basically pretty much gone.
Everyone run.
I sold the last that I had yet a couple days ago.
That's so funny because I was on the website last week. I was like, ooh, I should grab one of these before I go to US next time. And then yesterday sold out. So
yeah, well, I know where there's a copy if you come to the US. No, I'm not going to put it in my bag.
I'll find one. Don't you worry.
I think they weigh 8 or 9 pounds, the box set.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's exactly why I was very hesitant about that. So, Music Millennium, I'll give them a call shortly. So, the putting together that box set, that's kind of a collection of songs across all the different albums. Is that right?
Yeah, this is basically a reissue of the one that Sub Pop did, only on CD.
Right.
And these are songs that Fred handpicked out of all the ones that were there. And he came up with the lineup of how the order of the songs would go and all of that for the CD collection. And then a guy here in town, Greg Glover's the one who got the box set. He approached me with this idea to do it on vinyl. And he got a hold of Sub Pop and they said, yeah, we don't plan on releasing it on vinyl. So go ahead, do it. So he came up with the whole thing and, putting all the little extra goodies in there, the slip mat and the this and, all the rest of this stuff. So that was kind of all his idea. It was brilliant. People love it. And it's, I play them a lot. Actually, I'm playing mostly them as test pressings because I got sent all the test pressings to OK before, before it was completed.
Sure. Okay.
So, it's like, cool. Don't have to dig out those originals because I'm hard on records, man. I'm the one that,
Uh-oh. So
I'm not, whatever, audiophile.
Did you guys have test pressings of all the other records? Did you?
Yeah, most of them I still have.
Okay. All right. Part of the museum.
Yeah, and also at one point the company that we went through made the stampers, or they saved all the stampers down at Bill Smith. And at one point he passed and then his son took it over. But anyway, they sent all of those back to me too. So I have all those, the metal disc.
You
so
do have a big house.
Oh yeah. So it's like, he goes, do you want these? Like, oh yeah, sure, send them. So he sent all the Tombstone ones anyway.
Was there any projects that Fred was working on, at his time of passing that remain unfinished?
Yeah, he was working on 2 or 3 different songs that we never even got to the point of recording. The last trip that we did with the duo was at the beginning of 2017. He passed away that November. So he already knew he had cancer and that it was progressing and that it had gone into his bone. So we did that last Euro go around and he was really sick near the end of that. So, and then once he came home, he had to start doing transfusions and chemo and all of that. So that, he wasn't writing like profusely like he was at the beginning at that particular point, but he was working on a few songs, but we never did get anything recorded.
Okay. No record of those except
he just got too sick to do it. Yeah, just got too sick to do it. I can hear under my head, but that's about it.
Okay. Well, look, Toody, I'm really so happy to be able to have this conversation with you. I'm such a fan, and looking forward to seeing you down in Melbourne. I don't mind jumping on a plane. You're jumping on one that's coming a lot further than I would. So, but I will put the links in this episode page of the dates. It's late November. So everyone else can arrange their calendars. Toody Cole and her band. And again, Toody, thank you so much for joining us here and putting up with our record nerd questions.
Hey, no problem.
And travel safe, and we'll see you at the end of November.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Oh, she is so fantastic. Those shows are going to be great. Hope to see you guys there. I'm going to try to make it to the Tote Show. But again, ontheloose.au or facebook.com/ontheloose.au. All the Dead Moon stuff is available at deadmoonusa.com. I've got links in this episode page. And you know who's got a reissue of the Zipper album? Permanent Records. So I'm going to put that link in this episode page as well. And we hope to have Toody back on the show at some point. I think there's still lots of vinyl room to cover there. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who's sharing and giving us great reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's hugely appreciated. And especially you Patreon legends, patreon.com/vinyl guide. Help support the show. That is a huge help as well. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves. And thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.